The 2017 Ghost in the Shell adaptation is what I call a misunderstood film. Most publications would call it a failure, and in some aspects it is. But once you break down the film and how it was marketed, it already shows why this film will be remembered as a bomb. Only grossing $168.4 million on a $110 million budget, not accounting for the advertisements, which are usually half of the original budget. Firstly, I'd like to talk about the negative press this film garnered, which hurt the box office to some extent. This would mainly affect the Western audiences in how they perceive the film, as Japan are homogenous and other cultures that didn't care about the racial casting. Even original director of The Ghost in the Shell thinks this isn't even a big deal. But even with this, Japan's gross was still okay and didn't save the film. The problem is, who is this film for? In marketing, this is basically the #1 rule. Who is this for? And how can we appeal to them? The film was created and advertised without this in mind. The shotgun approach. If anything, it tried to be a big hit with mass audiences, but its different aesthetic, while garnering praise from the anime community, even going out there to hire Takeshi Kitano, a legendary Japanese actor. By the way, he's in this amazing film called Battle Royale. I suggest you should watch it. But there didn't seem to be a need or a want for a live action version of Ghost in the Shell. The anime community generally thought it was an okay adaptation, but already has a wealth of other media in the Ghost in the Shell world. On top of that, the community couldn't hold the film up on its own. Most live action anime films are made in Japan and are on a lower budget. That includes films like Attack on Titan and Death Note. The quality of the film is average, a passable film. Didn't hit the high concepts of the 1996 film, which I'm not that big of a fan of, especially compared to the Ghost in the Shell standalone complex anime, an anime that has a 30 million yen production budget per episode, which can be seen in its animation and sound. On top of that, other media that targets related subject matter like Blade Runner, for example, do a better job than the original film. The original suffers from the sheep-goat paradox, which is in essence, if you've heard of something that is good, therefore it must be good, and converts your expectations. This can also extend to how influential something is, which The Matrix, for example, was heavily inspired by Ghost in the Shell. In fact, the film has more in relation to generic action films than anything else. Things like Taken or The Expendables appeals to a mass audience, but doesn't have the depth. These films are usually at a lower budget and can make their money back easily with showing a spectacle or have star power. However, this film sits in the middling area, where last year films like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and Alice Through the Looking Glass performed enough to be profitable, but not as much. We are seeing more and more of these films dying out, much like the gaming industry. The middle studios are finding hard to keep an audience and find a market. If anything, this is like another anime live action film, 2008 Speed Racer. A film that is faithful to its source material, has amazing visuals, but who is the target audience? It mixes between a kid's film with a kid and a monkey just running around doing hijinks, and then a family, possibly young teen film with over a 2-hour runtime and action that's verging on a mature audience. So when it came to what to show in the trailers or what type of advertisement channels to use, it was trying to be something for everyone, but it felt hollow and didn't do much to get new audiences to see the film. Almost like the trailers were an analogy for what Ghost in the Shell means. So what should have Paramount Pictures should have done? Possibly pre-planning or a feasibility study. These studies are done so companies can gauge if there is a demand for the product and what demographic will it appeal to. The budget is quite modest and the effects and the production are really well executed for the amount of money they had. What I can gather is that manga and anime adaptations is the new comic books. We can see a trend of them being created for the mainstream, and it seems like we have skipped video games entirely for the moment. We have a Death Note Netflix movie, and they keep on talking about an Akira film. So it seems like big studios are seeing this as a way to bring new things to the West, which I believe will have a struggle of being faithful to the source material and appealing to Western cultures. The 2017 version of Ghost in the Shell tried to be for everyone, but in the end, it appealed to no one.